Alright everyone, this is a 1997 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. Ooh, fancy. Uh, this car used to be owned by me, now it's owned by my buddy Craig here, who you can barely see because he's backlit. It kind of looks like Voldemort from the Harry Potter books. It's a Jeep, and if you like Jeeps, it's a pretty good one. You just saw my reflection there. Although it hasn't had the best life. What we're doing today is we're going to be getting under it, and we're going to be... What are we replacing, Craig?
We're replacing the governor pressure sensor, or the dealership called it the transducer,
Okay.
and the solenoid, governor pressure solenoid.
Okay.
So, and to do that, I think we need to take the filter off. If you're under there, you might as well change the filter anyway. Going to change the fluid in it, because it's going to all be gone.
Right. That's a good call for anyone who wants to, who's doing work on their own car. Anytime you've got to crack open something like the oil pan or the transmission, regardless of what you're doing, you're going to want to replace all the vital fluids and all the filters that are involved in that. I even go so far as to say if you're going to be changing an oil pan gasket, you might as well go ahead and give your oil pump a good once over to make sure it's okay, because you don't want to have to crack it open twice if you don't have to. Under the car, here you can see, I'm kind of turning the camera here as I go, but there you can see the transmission pan and the bolts. Those are just simple half-inch bolts on there. And we're about to crack that baby open. Alrighty, got the bolts in the transmission pan loosened. Those people who are familiar with auto work will know that transmission pans, unlike oil pans, do not come with a drain plug. So what you've got to do is you have to loosen the bolts and actually pull about half the bolts out, and just kind of let it spew out of the edge of the pan until it gets low enough that you can fully remove the pan. So we'll. All right, that is the bottom part of an automatic transmission. After the transmission pan has been removed, it's still dripping like Nightmare on Elm Street a little bit. It was far worse just a moment ago, but I had to grab the goddamn camera, and that's what it looks like now. So,
this is the filter we're going to be replacing.
Right, that's the transmission filter. And we probably will have to consult the manual. Did we mention that we're amateur mechanics?
I don't think the manual actually covers the sensors we're replacing, so we're just going to have to figure out what those are when we get
Well,
there.
I'm sure if we take a look at the sensor, we'll be able to find something on the transmission that looks something like the sensor. There's Craig over there. Those beautiful blue eyes.
Bright eyes.
Whatever.
They've got this filter held in with Torx bolts, or star bolts, whatever you're more familiar with. And I've got my handy dandy little Torx wrench set here. I'm hoping to find the right size. It's a little too small. Of course, you want to get these so it's snug, so you don't strip anything out. That's probably it. I'm going to try the next size to make sure. That's not going to seat right, so I think it's this size right here.
Any idea what size that is, so that if anyone is planning on this at home, they can double check their tools, or is that labeled?
It's labeled, but it has a list of the sizes.
Ah, so it's labeled, but it's completely worthless.
Yeah, let's see. It's the fourth largest size, so that's a 1, 2, 3. T25 maybe?
Okay.
Or T26?
Okay.
T26.
Labeled but completely worthless. Are you sure that the tool set itself isn't made by Mopar as well?
This is a Craftsman.
Oh, okay. Now, I believe, but I'm not 100% sure, that they're There's probably going to be a fair bit of transmission fluid behind the filter.
Thanks for telling me that now.
So, yeah, we better watch as I say we, even though you're doing all the work, you better watch as you pull it out. You might want to pull it just straight down into we've got the, it's tight fitting in here, but we got the transmission pan here.
Well, it's I believe it's flat on the other side, so I don't know that we'll have too much coming out here.
Don't argue with the cameraman.
Yes, sir.
See?
Coming out. Well, shit my pants and call me Fred.
See, that's what happens. Right. That's what happens when you have a goddamn filter that hasn't been replaced in a while. It doesn't become a filter so much as it becomes a block. And there's some more Nightmare on Elm Street there. The one thing I have to say about this, and I was as surprised to this as the next guy, even though I was the former owner of this vehicle, is that the transmission fluid is in fairly good condition. I mean, I expected to open it up and find it brown and very dirty. But it's a good sign for the transmission here. It really means the transmission's probably doing its job fairly well, despite the fact that one of the electrical sensors isn't working quite right. And it means that the transmission fluid hasn't been burning. As it burns, it'll turn brown and it'll release a scent. I think I've heard almond. Is that correct?
I had heard it gives off a burnt smell.
Yeah, but I thought it was a burnt something smell. I don't know. If anyone ever bothers to watch this video, maybe they can put it in the comments.
Well, let's find a burnt transmission and some nuts to roast, and we'll do a comparison.
I've got some walnuts.
We can start with that.
All right.
Oh, where the devil are those sensors?
My guess would be maybe here.
Okay, is that one right there?
I mean, it's electrical.
That one might be right there.
Yeah.
That's it. And where's the... Here's the gasket.
Well, of course that's where the gasket is. Where do you expect it to be?
And it looks like it's the reusable kind, so we won't have to replace that, and that'll save me $30 or something ridiculous that the Jeep dealership wanted to charge.
Yes, apparently Jeep Grand Cherokees, and probably other cars too as well, come with these reusable plastic gaskets, and it looks like it's pretty well stuck to the pan. I mean, I'm not able to... I'm sort of trying to lift it off here with my thumbnail. I'm not really making any leeway. But according to the Chrysler dealership, it is completely reusable, and we don't have to replace it. It's plastic, actually. If maybe when we come back out, we can take a look at it. But it looks like it's plastic with a thin layer of metal inside of it. So, handy dandy tip for all you Jeep owners out there: if they offer you a paper or cardboard or whatever the hell it is they make most gaskets out of, when you're trying to replace your transmission fluid, you can say, "No, fuck you, man. I want the one that you don't have to replace. I'll spend the extra $15." Wow, this must be really exciting to just sit here and watch transmission fluid drip into a pan.
Plus, you're helping with Lee Iaccoca's retirement by one at the Jeep dealership.
That bastard.
You dare defame the man who created the K car and gave us the minivan?
I have to say, I saw a Reliant last week driving in the rain through the north end of Martinsburg, West Virginia. A Plymouth Reliant, and it shocked the hell out of me. And I'm sitting here thinking, as much grief as I've given the K car in my life, you gotta give credit to someone who's been able to keep a goddamn Plymouth Reliant on the road since, what, 1987?
I saw a Horizon in Hagerstown with a racing stripe like 3 days ago. Greatest moment of my life.
You might as well put a racing stripe on a cinder block.
It's probably how he practiced.
Alright, Craig, so you got that solenoid out.
It was right up in here. was a bit tight pulling out, and the wiring harness was difficult to get up because I'm slippery as an eel.
Just to give you guys a sense, this is what the solenoid looks like on its end. And I'm holding it right over the light here so you can see it a little easier. There's two, the thing with the blue line here, the thing with the black line, those will act as, and then the blue line here, will act as kind of like gaskets in order to stop stuff from flowing out. As you can see, I don't know how well you can see without me getting stuff all over the lens here. There's a bit more tranny fluid coming out of that hole. Craig, point to the hole.
This hole?
Yeah, there's a bit more tranny fluid coming out of that hole than there was before, partially because this was removed. So, yeah, you might want to bring something to clean your hands off of to get a better grip on that.
And we're still trying to figure out where the other sensor is.
Right, the other is the transducer. It is a plastic piece. Here it is. This is the new one. 4-prong electrical connector. Again, it looks like it plugs into the end of a hose or something on this end. Okay, Craig just pulled off the governor solenoid body. That was what that solenoid that we just pulled out sat in. And supposedly, see, here's one of the problems. There's a company called Haynes, that I'm sure you're all familiar with, that puts out these books that are half useless because 9 times out of 10 the problem that you've got doesn't appear in the book, and neither does the part you need to replace. So we have to rely on the wisdom of the internet to help us out here, and they say that this is the way to go, so we're hoping that the internet is correct. So, Craig?
I have no idea what I'm looking at here.
Welcome to the world of amateur auto repair.